Right, so we officially have our first eliminated team of this tournament. Three more teams have qualified for the quarterfinals, and we've had some very, very interesting games. I want to start off with India versus Argentina because that game ended in an Indian victory, as most people would have predicted. But it really took a long time to get going in this game. No teams were willing to lose. Both teams were trying to feel each other out, making sure that they at least got a point rather than zero. And when that first goal fell, that's really when the game started in the 43rd minute when India went 1-0 up. Argentina equalized, but 2 minutes before the end, India gets the 2-1 goal, and then a minute after, with a minute to go, the 3-1. They're officially qualified, and this was an interesting game, not only because it took India so long to get that victory, but because it took Argentina so long to break down. But break down they did, and that's a huge, huge problem that they'll have coming in the last game of the group stages against New Zealand, where they will need to get at least a win or a point, and hoping that Spain get absolutely battered at the hands of Australia if they want to have a shot at making it through. Now, Group A is very interesting now because technically Japan could still qualify, and it's not outside the realm of possibilities. They just need a New Zealand victory. Well, it's not outside of just. They need a New Zealand victory over Argentina. They need Australia to demolish Spain, and Japan would need to beat India. Now, is that impossible? No, because again, India is certain of that top two spot. They could still play for the top one, but it's unlikely. Australia is likely to beat Spain. And so will India rest up? I can see India resting up. Australia will want to finish their group stages on a high with 0 losses and 0 draws with 5 victories. India, I could see them rest up a little for their game against likely Germany, the Netherlands, or Great Britain. And Japan has proven already that they can do some damage to this team. And India will have emptied the tank today. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Group A at the end. But it could go either way. Spain could still qualify, so could New Zealand, Argentina could qualify, Japan could qualify, and either of those teams could get eliminated. I'll be especially curious to see how the New Zealand versus Argentina game turns out. And as I've said in the previous video, that will be the very last game of the group stages, which is a bit detrimental to Spain because if Spain loses, the fate of the group is not in their hands. But that's hockey. Spain should have performed better in the previous games. They haven't. Group A now will go down to the wire, and I'm all here for it. On to Group B, where the Netherlands and Great Britain have qualified. And although it's good for Great Britain to see them qualify, I have to wonder, why are they only using 16 players? They have 18 there. They have Alan Forsyth there in the reserves. Why not give Forsyth a game or rotate a little just to give some players some rest? Now, yes, I know Danny Carey likes to stick with his squad. I know that Danny Carey has a lot of confidence in the squad that he has now with the 16 men. But will that come back to bite them? Great Britain still has to play Germany, I think it is. Belgium, sorry. Great Britain still has to play Belgium. And yes, Belgium has qualified, but how much will that game against Belgium take out of them? Because Great Britain still need to get a good result. Technically, they are qualified, and mathematically they are qualified, but they will want that second spot instead of that third spot, or even potentially that fourth, because Germany versus Netherlands could go either way. If Germany wins and Great Britain gets battered by Belgium, they finish fourth. If Great Britain gets a point and the Netherlands don't, then Great Britain finish second. So it could go either way, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I have to wonder if Danny Carey will make use of the reserves against Belgium, because I think he might consider this game to be a formality rather than a must-win. He has qualified now. No matter who they face, be it India, Argentina, Spain, New Zealand, or Australia, it will be a tough game. They will obviously likely rather face New Zealand than, let's say, Australia. But nothing is guaranteed, and their fate is also in their hands, because that will be the very last game of the group stages for Group B. That will be the very last game of any group stages. And I just don't know how this will turn out, because Great Britain has been very on and off. Today against the Netherlands, yes, they needed 2 late goals from Sam Ward to climb back, but has that taken too much out of them? As we saw against Germany, they just weren't at the races. They couldn't get anything going that game. They were behind pretty much all the time. They were chasing the ball, not behind only in score, but they were chasing the ball. They were chasing the play. Every move that they made came 2 minutes too late. And it could have turned out completely differently today. Had Sam Ward not equalised, had Sam Ward not scored these 2 late goals, Great Britain would have been on 4 points, with South Africa still needing to play Canada, who has been eliminated, and we could have realistically then seen South Africa qualify for the quarterfinals at the expense of Great Britain. However, that hasn't happened, and now South Africa, could they still technically make it? Yes, but they would need Germany to lose by an incredibly big margin. South Africa would need to win by an incredibly big margin. That is very unlikely to happen. So we know the quarterfinalists pretty much for Group B, which will be Belgium in first place, followed by either Great Britain or the Netherlands or Germany. But those are the 4 that will qualify from Group B most likely. Now, the big game, obviously, for Group B coming in a few days is the Netherlands versus Germany. That will pretty much decide the entire outlook of Group B from second up until 4th spot. I am expecting the Netherlands to likely at least get a point, simply because the Netherlands are in that driver's seat right now. Germany needs to get a win, and they will need to attack, which allows the Netherlands to counter, to get a few opportunities that they otherwise would not get. But it could go either way. We have seen with Germany at the European Championships against the Netherlands that they can come back very late. They can hurt the Netherlands if needed at any moment, both from the field and from penalty corners. But the players will need to get going. Germany had a decent game against Great Britain, but they just weren't good today against South Africa. And that's not to discredit South Africa. South Africa, especially with the Cassian brothers, has been excellent at this tournament, and it'll be a shame to see them go, because they likely do deserve more than just elimination. And we saw against the Netherlands, they deserved to get at least a point. Today against Germany, they were deserved winners. And it didn't always look like it was going to be that way, because Germany were in the driver's seat to begin with Hersbruck scoring in the 8th minute. Yes, South Africa scored, retaliated, and then went up, but Windfeder and Steib put Germany back up 3-2. And then from that moment on, really for a long period of the game, it looked like Germany were probably going to control the game, trying to play around, create a few opportunities here and there, then score a 4th. But it just didn't happen. South Africa really went at Germany, pressed them with a lot of intensity that I thought they wouldn't have, especially after their game against the Netherlands, against Belgium a few days ago, where they really looked cooked after 3 periods already. But South Africa has been the fairy tale story of this Olympic Games, and it's a shame to see them go. But I'll be watching the game against Canada very closely. And yes, Canada has been eliminated, but they will want to get at least a point at these Olympic Games. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think South Africa will play at 100%. I don't know about Canada. They might give some players that haven't played that much more time on the pitch since they have been eliminated. But both teams are likely out of the competition. And yeah, we are getting closer to the quarterfinals. Now, there's still one game we need to discuss. Belgium against Canada, obviously. And what's there to say, really? Belgium again scored 9 goals. That's a huge, huge thing going into their last game against Great Britain, having scored 9 goals twice in a row. Great Britain will be happy that they got that draw against the Netherlands today. But Belgium has been firing on all cylinders. Defensively, they weren't very good against South Africa. Even against Canada today, they still had a few moments where they looked a little shaky, but offensively, they're completely there. Alexander Hendricks, again, scored a brace on penalty corners. Dokier scored 2, which is good for him because he needed to get going. De Nayer, Gunyar, Charlier, Boon, Van Obel, these are the players that you want to score goals. Wenier didn't get any goal, but that's not necessarily his role in the Belgian team. Wenier in this Belgian team brings energy, he brings explosivity. And having 7 different goal scorers, or 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different goal scorers is a great thing for Belgium coming into the game against Great Britain. They will likely rest a little, give some more time on the pitch for the players who have played just slightly less, even though they do have some injuries, which is a problem for them, obviously. But they have guaranteed that first spot in Group B. They are likely to face Spain, Argentina, or New Zealand. So whomever they face there, if it's Argentina, it will be a grudge match from the 2016 final, obviously. If it's New Zealand and New Zealand plays like they did against Australia, we'll have a very interesting game on our hands. If it's Spain, I'm expecting a Belgian win. But again, Spain need to face Australia. They haven't been good at this tournament. It could go either way. We'll have to watch the last games of the group stages first. And it has been more open. The groups are more open than I would have expected at this point, which is a great thing for the sport, obviously, and for the entertainment. Again, as I said, commiserations to Canada for their eliminations. Well, they just didn't look likely at any point to really make an impact on this game and on this tournament, unfortunately. South Africa merited more likely. Japan has been excellent in this tournament despite there's only 1 point. I'll be interested to see what they do in the next game. But that's a matter for later when those games are there. Tomorrow, I think, or is it in 2 days? With the time difference here, I can't tell with the time difference on Wikipedia here for the games. But that's it for this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. I thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.